thought I'd shoot this little video just to show what happens with old equipment. So I was trying to test the tubes on Jeff's amp here, and pulled out my trusty old ICO model 666 tube tester here, otherwise known as Satan's Little Helper. And I couldn't get the stupid thing to calibrate. So you're supposed to turn it on, and you push this button, and you're supposed to adjust this dial so that the needle is in the center. And I just couldn't get it low enough, and I couldn't figure out why. So I took it apart, and I know that like this knob here has some problems. Sometimes it's a little intermittent. I actually have a replacement pot for it. So I was going to go ahead and do that, and for some reason in my head I remember having trouble with one of the dials, and I thought it was this one, and that was the reason why it was acting up. But actually the one I bought was for this, which makes me think that this also has a problem. So this thing's been sitting for years and years. Probably haven't used it in 10 years. So I pulled up the instructions, and there's a little maintenance section where you have to, there's some small adjustments you can make. There's two little pots, and so I hooked it up, and sure enough, so here's the meter. What you're supposed to do is, I don't know how this thing got so far off, honestly, but turn it on and you adjust it till you get 130 volts on here. There we go. And then you push line, and it's supposed to be in the center, and there's actually an adjustment for that. So this meter got way off, and I wonder if I bumped it last time I tried to figure out why this thing was acting up. So there we go. Needle's in the center, 130 volts. And I have it set to 123, which is what it should be, so now it's right. See, this is a cool tester. It's very simple. Oh, relatively speaking, anyway. I'll show you what it looks like under the hood. So there it is. So when it comes to tube testers, there's a couple different kinds. There's super basic ones. So that's what it looks like underneath. These are actually kits. You could buy them as a kit and put it together, and there was instructions on how to solder all this together. I bought mine off eBay or something. I can't remember. But you can see it's very electromechanical. It's just a bunch of switches. One capacitor, a transformer with a ton of taps on it for all the different filaments. And that's it. So there's a couple different kinds of tube testers. There's really basic ones that just set the tube up in a sort of a static situation. You know, they set the voltages to a certain way and give it a certain input, and then look at the output and see if it's working as expected. And you can measure how strong the tube is from that. But it's not really a good test. It doesn't test for shorts. It doesn't test for leakage. It doesn't test for transconductance, which is like how well it amplifies, which is the whole purpose of a tube. So to do that properly, you really need to set up the tube in a circuit and feed it an AC signal, alternating current, and then measure its performance. And most of the advanced tube testers were pretty sophisticated. They actually had tubes inside of them. There's a bunch of models by Knight and some other ones, and they're good testers, but they're given their age, they get to be a little problematic, and you have to calibrate them and all this other stuff. This one is sort of an interesting. it's very interesting the way it works. So instead of setting up the tube in a DC circuit and feeding it an AC signal and trying to measure that, it actually feeds the tube an AC signal, both on the cathode and the anode. So the whole tube is bouncing up and down at 60 Hertz, and then they hold the grid steady. So from the tube's perspective, though, it looks like this, because it doesn't care that the whole thing is bouncing. So it's really interesting the way it works. It's clever. It has some limitations, but for something this old, this is kind of the way to go, and it's a pretty popular tester, and I'm happy to have one. So anyway, let's put this thing back together and see if I can actually test this tube. You can see down here there's a scroll. It's like the Dead Sea Scrolls down here. It's actually a piece of paper wrapped around 2 rolls, and I'll show you what that looks like on the other side. So here's the case that it belongs in, and it just drops right in. And then there's a million screws that go around it. That's it. Pretty easy to work on. Alright, so here it is, the ICO 666, the tester of the beast. So the way this thing works is you find your tube number, the one you want to test on this scroll, and you just turn this thing until you find the number that you want, and then you look and it tells you what to set everything to. It tells you what to set filament to, the grid, all these levers, the plate, which button to push, and then you flick that guy and boom. There's your test. And there's usually multiple tests per tube, transconductance, leakage, shorts, and all that kind of thing. So the nice thing about this tube tester and many of the others, they're pretty much universal. All these levers are the sort of patch panel to configure which pins on the sockets do what. And they can pretty much be put in any configuration. So as long as the voltages within the tester are capable of testing the tube you're trying to test, any tester can test any tube, even if it's not in the manual. So for example, the tubes in Jeff's radio, the ECL 86, they're not on this list anywhere. But the 1978 version of the list, which is the last list that I could find, it is in there. So, alright, so for Jeff's tube, we set the filament to 6.3. For the first section we're testing, we set the grid to 47. We set the plate to 47. And then we set levers 6, 3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 5, 6, 1. V is set to 3, and S is 2. Alright, so put our tube in socket here. Turn on the voltage. Got our line voltage set. So now the tube heater's on. Just wait for the tube to warm up. We set merit to 6. There we go. Test's good. So let's check the other section. Grid to 30. We reset first. Grid to 30. Plate to 90. This is probably checking the power tubes. That was probably the input tube section. The small signal section. 5, 1, 6, 1, 2, 6, 6, 6, 4, 1. V is 3, S is 3. And then for merit we choose 9. And then we test. Test's good. Well, according to my tube tester, this tube is good. Okay, so this one's a little weaker. but still measures good, so we'll call it good. So Jeff, according to Satan's Little Helper, these tubes are good. Alright, so next up is the EABC 80. Check for leaks. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8. Good. Merit is 9. Test. It's a little weak. Merit 1, 2, and 6. 1, 2. These are testing the diodes. 6. Yes, that one's weak too. So this guy's a little tired, but it's still good. It's in the question mark zone, which means it's functional, but at the end of its life. So FYI. The EAB 80, also 6AK8 is the equivalent. Should start looking for another one of those just to have it on hand. Next up is this EF89. 2, 3, and 9. 2, 3, 9. Merit is 7. That's good. This is the ECH81. 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9. Merit is 6. A little weak, but okay. This is the ECC83. This is the input for the phono stage. Two, 3, 7, 8. And merit is 1 and 6 because there's 2 sections. 1, 6. So it's a little, it's good. A little low, but good. Next up is ECC 85. 2, 3, 7, 8. 2, 3, 7, 8. Looks good. 1 and 6 for merit. It's 1. Good. 6. Ooh, that one's weak. So this one side of this triode is weak. Check the tubes on this guy while I'm at it. 2, 3, 7, 8. 2, 3, 7, 8. And merit is 1 and 6. That one's pretty weak. So both of these are weak. So the 12AX7, that's in the FMD multiplexer. Last but not least, ECC81, 12AT7. 2, 3, 7, 8, and 1. Good. 6. Good. So this tube is strong. Alright, so that wraps it up for the tube testing. Hope that wasn't too boring. Thanks for watching.